Everyone talks about what happened in the 90s, the streets, the crime, the prison sentences, but there's a part of that story that doesn't get talked about enough. Not what happened to the men who went in, but what happened to the women who were left to hold everything together. Now, this video is not meant to bash, scold, or place blame on any party. Basically, we're just having an open discussion on the nucleus of some of the issues that we have to iron out as a community. So this is just bringing it to the forefront. Now, after the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, incarceration rates went up. In our community, that meant men were gone for years and sometimes decades. But life didn't pause. It didn't. Bills still had to be paid, children still had to be raised, and homes still had to be held together. When we talk about mass incarceration, we usually focus on the men who went in, and rightfully so, because they're the ones that had to do the time. But in hindsight, we really don't talk about the effects of the woman who had to carry everything on the outside of the bars. I'm talking about driving hours just to sit in a visiting room, paying high phone bills. This is Paytel Communications. Do you accept the charges? Just to hear a voice. Send in what spare money you may have or whatever for canteen. Helping out with legal fees. If you didn't help out with legal fees, then you were a great advocate. And all the while, still trying to keep the household together by yourself. On top of that, still finding a way to show up emotionally, mentally, and financially. Let's just let that sink in. Women weren't just supporting, we were surviving. Holding it down wasn't just loyalty, it was pressure, responsibility, and sacrifice all at once. And sometimes after all of that, the men came home changed. They weren't the same as when they went in and did their bid. Things changed. Some became institutionalized, struggling, trying to adjust, being on the outside now, and sometimes falling back into the same cycles because you're unable to get a job, especially if you're a felon back in those days. I mean, there was a number done on our community. And so when we see certain celebrities and people of that stature conducting themselves in a manner that's not representing the queen that she is, she's not representing that. And this could be a major part as to why. When we think about Megan Thee Stallion, she stays in the news, or Sexy Red. When we hear people like that, they are products of the 94 crime bill. Let's continue. Now here's another part that doesn't get talked about. Mass incarceration didn't just remove men from homes, it shifted the entire relationship dynamic. In our communities, there were more women than men. I believe in the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken, like 2001, there was an estimate of, for every one man, there were 10 women for that one man. So when that happens, it changed the way relationships formed, how commitment was viewed, and what people and parties were willing to accept. Now, you take a woman who has done all of those things, as mentioned previously, and she's holding it down on the outside. You come home having difficulties adapting, and rightfully so. I've never had to serve time, but I've had loved ones in my family and exes and stuff like that were a part of these cycles and this system. As I said, men, they were coming out trying to deal with their own challenges. I know my best friend, her child's father, he did his thing or whatever, went in for some years, came out, they were getting ready to have a child. That man made a way to try to go and fill out applications each and every day, all day, and still could not find employment. How was they supposed to eat? You donate plasma, you're doing anything you can to bring money in at this time. However, let's continue. So in no way, shape, or form am I discounting what men had to go through being in those systems, getting ridiculous sentences of time being taken away from not only their immediate households, but being a community member. So I'm not discounting what men went through at all. But for women, the emotional and financial weight of trying to hold everything together, the many nights, if it was true love, the many nights, crying and holding her pillow tight, and this, that, and the third, because you're gone, and still having to be strong for children, still having to go to work and be this person, still putting on a mask when you're really feeling hurt inside that your loved one is behind bars. It wasn't easy for women as well. And so a lot of children that are in their 20s, early 30s, they saw their mom go through this. They saw their mother go through this. And even when some men came home, like I said before, for every one man, there were 10 women. So some men came home, made up for lost times being behind bars. There's a plentiful bounty of women out here that were willing to do exactly what their fantasies entailed. So competition made the so-called good girls compromise their values in order to just get a man in some cases. So, cheating was a major part during that time period. And even today, it's grown to be a norm today. But I bring all of this to the forefront because it's not about blaming anyone. It's about us as a people, as a community, to reflect on what happened and how can we move forward. So it's about understanding, because you can't heal what you don't acknowledge. And you can't understand each other if you don't understand what each one went through. So I ask, did you see this side of it? Did you consider that this may be the reason why we have modern women today that are so far removed from our core values? There was so much competition for one man and 10 women to one man. There was so much competition that it was really a man's fantasy world, and it still is to a certain extent today. But these women of today, they're on a whole nother level. They're on a whole nother ruthlessness. They've actually switched roles almost in our community, where men act more feminine and females act more dominant. The roles have changed. I mean, do you feel like the roles have changed? Oh, my goodness. So let me know in the comments. This may be a lot to digest. I really hope we can have, more conversations about it in the description and start conversations within each other, because the 94 Crime Bill did a number on our communities, and it hasn't recovered yet. In fact, it's getting worse, in my opinion. I mean, what do you feel? I hear a lot of people complaining about the same thing. Oh, it's your fault. It's your fault. No. Let's try to go back and see what really started the shift. What were we feeding our minds at the time in 94, early 2000s? What messages were being fed to us while we were trying to cope with the hurt of seeing our loved one away, and vice versa? Knowing that your loved one is behind bars hurting as well, wanting to be out, having to fight different populations within the prison system, watching your back, even amongst your own. It did a number on us. But anyway, let me know what you think. Please like, share, comment. Let me know your thoughts and subscribe. And may the Most High bless.